On WFLA Now, feel good and live your best life with Bloom Health Club. Here's Gayle Guyardo.
Today we're talking about a condition that impacts millions of people, that makes it impossible to lose fat. Most of the time, this impacts women, and they don't even know they have it, which is exactly what happened to our next Bloom Health Club guest, Allison Jacobs, who is a lipedema warrior, a body positivity expert, a content creator, and someone who makes millions of people smile every day on her social media platforms. She's become a good friend to Bloom over the years. Welcome, my friend. We're so happy to have you. And you've just been through 3 surgeries and you look amazing.
Thank you so much. I just adore you guys. You really have been a part of this journey from about the time I found out that I had it, which is incredible, you know?
Yeah, I met Allison. Actually, I was filling in on our sister show, Daytime, which airs here in the Tampa Bay market, and it's syndicated like our show, Bloom, nationwide. But we met because Allison started dancing on social media during the pandemic, and NBC spotted her and they put her on a fun show, and it was all about, you know, who's dancing the best, who knows these TikTok dances, and no one can rival our Allison. Look at her. I mean, she's just amazing and cheering up millions and millions of people. But along the way, as you're posting these fun videos, people started to make comments and DM you and say, I think you have something called lipedema. You did not know what that was.
No. I mean, it was a while before I actually started Googling it because I thought maybe they meant lymphedema. And I'm like, there is absolutely no way that I have some disorder. I mean, I've been going to an endocrinologist since I was 9 because I'm hypothyroid, or I have hypothyroid. I'm like, there's no way something like that could be missed, right? And then it got to the point where I couldn't ignore the messages, the comments. And when I saw the images of these women with lipedema, I was like, whoa, that looks like me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to bring in our Bloom producer, Sarah Smith, quickly in this conversation because, you know, along the way, when we have regular guests like yourself, and just to reiterate, we would bring Allison on Bloom, which is our syndicated show headquartered in Tampa, Florida, that is now global. We brought you in for the very reason that you make so many people smile on social media, to teach me how to dance and to
Those
promote.
are my favorite segments.
Yeah, favorite segments. You should go back. If you haven't seen them, you should look them up on bloomtampabay.com. They make me cringe, but they make most of you laugh.
You are such a good sport.
I've come a long way over the years, but it was behind the scenes, really in the beginning when, because we become friends with our close, you know, we become close friends with guests like you that come regularly. We get to know you. You're part of our family. Like we really genuinely grow to love you and to care about you. And you opened up to us and you said, hey, I'm dealing with this condition. At the time, you didn't mention to Sarah and I that you were even contemplating surgery.
No. And really at the time I wasn't, because I didn't realize, I didn't think that I was experiencing discomfort or pain. And like, you know, we've begun to talk about, especially after surgery, you only have your lived experience. You only have your body, so you normalize it. You don't have anything to compare it to. But yeah, I mean...
Yeah, it's unbelievable that she's noticed such a difference in mobility. She's noted a difference in her pain, which when you have pain, you learn to live with it. You only know your lived experience, as Allison just said. So you made the very thought out. It was not a knee-jerk decision to have this surgery. You interviewed doctors. You found one of the best in the country, really in the world. There was one in Spain that we met along the way. And then you also introduced us to your doctor out in California, and you ultimately went that direction.
Correct. Mainly because I love both doctors so much. They're both incredible. Dr. Amron in California performs his surgery awake, which means you don't have to go under general anesthesia. And I have a history of DVTs, which I had no idea. When you have lipedema, you're more susceptible
What
to
is
DVT,
that?
a deep vein thrombosis.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right. I remember that.
Pulmonary embolisms from it. Like,
Wow. I do remember that phase of it, man. Because we've been talking about this with you and for more than a year now, between you discovering it, you trusting us with this, and then being so courageous to talk with our viewers about this and educate others. And then, your journey of what you were going to do to deal with this debilitating condition. What was the surgery like?
So it is a very specific form of lymph-sparing liposuction. So you have to make sure that you find a doctor that knows what they're doing, because they use different size cannulas. It's an entirely different process. And if you see somebody that doesn't know what you're doing and your lymphatics get damaged, it can make things really, 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 really bad. And I do want to say also, there are other options. There's conservative therapies, which conservative therapies don't remove the diseased fat, because we know that the only way as of right now to get rid of it is to have the liposuction. But what the conservative therapies do is help manage the symptoms. So as we were talking, and because it is a progressive disease, I did start to have pain. My back was hurting, my knees were hurting. And what you can do, some of the conservative therapies are manual lymphatic drainage. So that helps get your lymph moving so that it helps with swelling. There's different exercises. The pool is really, really great for people with lipedema. There's compression pumps that kind of mimic a manual lymphatic drainage massage. There's all of these things. There's dry brushing. But once, things become more advanced, surgery is really the next thing.
And I really think that it's important that people understand for Allison, and we're looking at different, the exact dance moves, but in positions, and you can see the mobility that she has. Allison grew up dancing. You danced competitively, and at a very young age, when this started to form and you started to realize something was up, you became very self-conscious of this, even as a child.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially in dance, you're around other girls your age, you're in leotards, looking at mirrors. How can you not compare yourself? And unfortunately, there was things said to me starting very, very young. And so I always just thought something was wrong with me. And in one of the pictures you guys showed, it was where I had my knee up like this. You could see how I could get it higher after the surgery. I remember my dance teachers would just be like, get your leg up. And I could not get it any higher, even when I was younger, because it just really impacts your range of motion.
And as we went along this journey with you, we learned, because the Bloom team, we would start deep diving into research, that a lot of eating disorders are linked to lipedema. And sadly, no matter how much you starve yourself, because of the nature of the disease, you're not going to lose the fat. No,
you'll lose weight, but where you have the diseased tissue, that doesn't go away.
So you knew what you were signing up for, because you did the research, you put a lot of thought. It's not a decision you came lightly to. It was a pretty tough journey.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to sugarcoat it.
It was worth it.
Oh, it was absolutely worth it. And that's before we even started, taping. I was telling you guys, in talking with other women that have had this procedure done, it's not a cakewalk, but not once has somebody said that they regret it. They say it is life-changing, and that's what it is.
Yeah, and Allison has introduced us to so many incredible doctors, and actually the head of the Lipedema Foundation, which has raised $12.5 million for research. And there has been, some research done using MRI. And you're going to learn more about this if you tune in at 2 p.m. at Channel 8 here in the Tampa area. But wherever you can watch Bloom, we're on Hulu, Amazon, Fire, you name it. We broadcast around the world. You'll learn that they notice like some sodium or content or salt content underneath the skin. They see how those pockets of fat develop and they do not dissolve. So again, there's these less aggressive treatments, but which, Allison, you say you have to do that even after the surgery.
Yes, that's something that I actually didn't realize going into the surgery. I did know that there is no cure. Having the surgery is not a cure. And I get that question a lot. Can the fat come back? And there isn't, to my knowledge, any research on that. All I know is that in talking with Dr. Amron, I think he said he's only had to revisit maybe 2 or 3 patients throughout his entire career.
And he's been doing this well over a decade.
Oh, yeah. Specifically lipedema. He's been doing liposuction specifically for over 20 years, which is insane. But yeah. Well,
I want to bring in Sarah because Sarah, like myself, follows you on social media. And there is a psychological side of this that's really powerful.
Yeah, I wanted to hit on that because I think when we've been talking, well, first of all, when I met you, I had no idea what lipedema was. I think that's the whole thing we're talking about today is just resources and next steps. And how can people who are also online, what do they do next? What's the next step for them? So what did it take for you to say, I'm going to use my social media platform to reach others and to share my story and be vulnerable?
So I think really for me, in the beginning, I didn't talk about it because I really didn't believe I had it. I didn't believe it was a thing. I went back to my doctors here and they told me it wasn't a thing, which was really detrimental to my mental health. And
how did you reconcile that?
Well, I didn't for a while. My eating disorders that, it just popped right back up. But what it was finding other women that had the condition. I was on a podcast. It's the Lipedema Mamas podcast. And through talking to them, and they were bringing up things like, like when the dogs jump on my lap or my kids crawl into my lap and it hurts, or when I get my blood drawn and the tourniquet is tied on my arm and it just is so painful. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? Like, that's not, everybody doesn't experience that. And they're like, no. And we just continued the conversation and I'm like getting chills talking about it because that was for me like, okay, like it's time to like really understand that this is a real condition and you have it and this is not just your body. This is not your fault.
I think it's important to note, and again, I learned this from one of your experts, is that lipedema was first identified in the 1940s. And because
1940s? Yes. I had no idea.
And because it primarily impacts women, and again, I'm not trying to get on a soapbox. The numbers are out there to prove. We actually did a 1-hour show on this. A lot of research for medical conditions, whether it be for heart, cardiac arrest, whatever, all of the research is done on men. And because this is something that primarily impacts women, as you can imagine, it went on the back burner for decades. For decades.
Make sense to me.
So
I know.
So if there's not the literature out there and there's not the research out there like there is today, and doctors don't know about this, can you imagine the mind tricks that must have played on so many women to not have their condition validated by a medical professional, quite frankly, because no one was even talking about it. These studies were not getting circulated. This information wasn't being sent out. No research was being done. Now, here we are in 2024, and there are strides forward. Yeah, it's about time. But we're really just now starting to have lipedema conversations.
Oh, yeah.
It's almost like it's an underground problem that you have to find out about from other women.
I know. Well, and now, you touched on the Lipedema Foundation. They have some really great resources for, okay, so maybe I have this, what do I do? So if you go on their website.
Spell lipedema so people, if they're...
Lipedema, Lipedema.
Okay.
Like
lipedema.
Swollen fat, essentially.
Okay.
Lipedema.
Lipedema, not lymph, but lip.
Right.
Edema. I just
Gotta
want to make
make that
distinction. Because if you are listening to us or watching us and you want to Google this and you think, what Allison is talking about sounds really, really familiar, we want you to be able, and of course we're posting all of these stories on bloomtampabay.com. So that's also a resource for you as well. So we're getting we're opening up the conversation. We're putting it on broad platforms. What kind of feedback are you hearing from people? Because I know you use your social media to talk about this. You've taken millions of people along on your journey.
I'll get emotional, but like I've gotten messages, emails, letters of people telling me like I've changed their lives. Like if it wasn't for me, they would have never known, or they're about to go into their third surgery and their daughter is going to see the doctor, or my mom is going to see the doctor. Like we just thought this was like the way the women in our family looked. Like it's a lot. Like it is truly incredible though when something that has been so painful for me has turned into something so positive.
Sarah, you spotted something on Allison's social media about that brought you to tears, and I know you wanted to ask her about that.
It was, you wrote a letter to your body, to yourself. I remember seeing that. I think it was in between one of the surgeries. You had one surgery. You were going into your next surgery.
I did it twice, actually. I did it twice. For the first, and I did it for the second.
Yes, that brought me to tears. Talk me through that experience and why you decided to do that.
Because I wanted to remember, even after the surgery, like, I just feel like I have garnered and I have so much more gratitude for my body, like prior to the surgery now. Like my body showed up for me every single day, despite everything I put it through for years, starving myself, stuffing myself, purging, all of it, talking terrible, terrible, terrible things I would say to myself. People ask me, how do you deal with the negativity? And it's like, there is not anything I haven't told myself already that these people are saying to me. But my body still showed up. It still allowed me to dance. It allowed me to have my children. And I just never want to forget the way that I felt before, you know?
I think that is so incredibly healing because at the end of the day, Allison, I think it's fair to say that what you've been through is a form of trauma. You know, going through all of this unknown and all of the mental anguish that goes along with this. And if you're listening out there or you're watching us right now, it doesn't have to be lipedema. It doesn't have to be specifically what Allison is dealing with. But I think the takeaway from her writing herself that letter is something that we've learned also on Bloom, is that going back to your old self, the self that you beat up so much along the way, and thanking your old self for all it's done to bring you to the place of change is really a healing modality that a lot of mental health experts are talking about. It's important to do what you did no matter what you're dealing with.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because I am still that person. You know what I mean? Like I am still her. She is me.
Right.
And if we don't take care of ourselves, you know.
Yeah. And if you make her, the old Allison, the young Allison, the Allison that was in dance class getting made fun of, or, you know, people pointing things out or whatever, if that Allison, if she gets stuffed in a corner and is left ashamed, she'll always come back to you. So to have a healthy relationship with where you are and celebrate the incredible young girl that you were, and teenager and young adult and woman, and embrace your strength to make it through so many difficult chapters of life, beautiful chapters. You have a great husband, great children. You know, you've done so much to help other people. You really have turned the tides of this, and you've really used something that could be very negative and transformed it into something extremely positive, which is why we love and respect you and admire you so much.
Oh, thank you. I just feel like 8-year-old Allison would be so proud of who I am today. And I just am so proud of her, you know? Like she made it through.
Yeah, she made it through. Did you have any more questions for Allison about her journey and what she's been through?
Now.
I know. What would be your lasting message of hope to people watching? I know that's a very loaded question.
Yeah, but I would say, like, you are here today and you are listening because you have made it through everything else to this point, and you are so much stronger and resilient than you give yourself credit for. So whatever comes your way, whether it's lipedema, it's the surgeries, or anything else, you'll get through it. And those feelings that you feel are temporary, and it gets better. It gets better.
Allison, we love you. We appreciate that you trust us and that you came to us and that you've let us share your story time and time again in so many different chapters of it. You have no idea how much that means to all of us on the Bloom team. We just adore you.
I adore you guys. You have no idea
We
how
love
much
you,
it means to
Allison.
me. Like, you guys mean a lot to me too.
All right. Well, on that note, guys, make sure to share this with your friends. Maybe somebody out there is suffering that you know, and this incredible conversation with Allison could be the game changer in their life.